Or they are heading to the polls on October 12th. That's on the run-up to the presidential election. But this is already fraught with legal drama and rising tensions. The Constitutional Council is currently hearing dozens of appeals from disqualified candidates, including a surprising challenge to longtime President Paul Biya himself. For more, we're joined live from Yaoundé by Channel Africa's correspondent there, Moki Kindzeka. Moki, how are you on this Tuesday?
I'm great, Asanda. Welcome to Yaoundé.
Well, thanks for making time for us this morning. Let's talk about the atmosphere there in terms of what it's like in Yaoundé as the Constitutional Council continues to hear appeals.
Now, Asanda, there have been very tense moments in Yaoundé, especially between the supporters of longtime opposition leader Maurice Kamto and heavily deployed policemen across the capital city, Yaoundé. In fact, there were open confrontations between combat-ready police and supporters of Kamto. About several dozen of the supporters of Maurice Kamto were arrested and taken to cells across the country. Tear gas was used to disperse angry crowds. Thousands of people moving to the Constitutional Council were chased by the police. Live broadcasts on TV channels and on by other social media platforms was prohibited, and a few journalists who dared to stream the hearings using their mobile phones in the Constitutional Council were arrested and taken to unknown destinations. People have been complaining. In fact, as we said earlier on, there have been very tense moments. There is still a heavy deployment of troops in Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé. Deployment of troops because the verdict that is expected is that of Mr. Kamto, which the Constitutional Council says will be delivered today by 3 p.m.
So that big question then on Maurice Kamto, which you mentioned, who is member of the ruling, the opposition, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, the CRM, which is viewed as the main opposition figure. What does it mean then in terms of how these elections are relating in the opposition landscape?
Now, Asanda, Kamto is no longer a member of the CRM movement or the opposition CRM. He is now a member of the Manidem party. Now, the CRM was not authorized to nominate a candidate for this year's presidential elections following the laws of Cameroon, because the party that nominates a candidate should be represented at the local council or the National Assembly, the parliament. So since the CRM was not represented, Kamto resigned from the CRM party and joined the Manidem party, which has the legal right to nominate a candidate for the elections. Now, when Kamto resigned and joined the Manidem, there was a problem again raised by the government that the Manidem is fragmented, divided into two. But Kamto is arguing that Manidem is not divided into two. One of the factions of Manidem was actually created by the government to make it impossible for Kamto to take part in the election, because the laws of Cameroon say a party can nominate only one candidate. Surprisingly, when Kamto joined Manidem, the government announced that Manidem was in two factions, a claim that Manidem does not agree, and that's why they are asking Kamto not to run. Why is the elections management body ELECAM asked Kamto not to run? Now, the verdict is expected at about 3 o'clock today. It was very tense yesterday. Nobody knows what will be happening, but Cameroonians are appealing to the consciences of members of the Constitutional Council to be able to rule using their consciences, because there's a belief that since the members are single-handedly appointed by President Paul Biya, they may want to eliminate Kamto, who is widely seen as the main challenger, somebody who can change things, who can remove the long-serving Paul Biya from power if the elections are transparent. So everyone in Cameroon, political analysts, journalists, the civil society, they are appealing to the consciences of members of the Constitutional Council to render justice as justice ought to be rendered, not to be influenced by the government.
Talking about Kamto being a challenger, let's talk about another figure, Leon Tellier Onana, who's had a more surprising case when it came to this, because he's within the ruling party, the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, or CPDM. What can you tell us about how he's challenging President Paul Biya?
That young man has courage. I mean, to stand within Paul Biya's party and challenge him, you need additional courage. Tele Onana has courage, and he did just that. Now, when he sent his nomination papers to the elections management body, the election management body said he was not nominated by the CPDM party of President Paul Biya. So he went ahead to the Constitutional Council to challenge, and the hearing was yesterday. I'm telling you, everybody wanted to follow that particular hearing, but unfortunately, it was impossible because the security was deployed and nobody was allowed to take pictures or to record anything in there. But what we gathered after and what we heard from the lawyers afterwards is that the Constitutional Council said it was a non-event, that it is Onana himself, who is also a senior member of the CPDM party of Mr. Paul Biya, who nominated himself as a candidate, but not the CPDM party. But he made his points very clear that even within the CPDM party, there's a lot of dictatorship, that there has been no Congress in the CPDM party since 2011, and the laws of the party states that it's the Congress that nominates a candidate, and he would have loved to challenge Mr. Biya from within during the Congress. Unfortunately, there was no Congress, so he's arguing that Paul Biya should not have been candidate, and that if Paul Biya is candidate and he is candidate from the same party, they should also reject the two files, that is his file and the file of Mr. Paul Biya, as a deed for Kamto, because Kamto was rejected based on the fact that his party nominated two candidates. Tele Onana is saying that the party, the CPDM, also had two candidates. They should have been rejected, but unfortunately, it was thrown out of the Constitutional Council.
What does it mean then, Onana's case, in terms of how it signals internal divisions within the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement? Can it be viewed as that, or just a fringe incident?
He is representing the views of so many members of that party who are complaining that the party is single-handedly managed by President Paul Biya. So he took the courage. Now, nobody knows where he would have taken the $55,000 as deposit to be candidate, considering that he is from the not too wealthy family. So you could read from it that disgruntled people within President Paul Biya's party support Tele Onana, and that's why he had the courage to go ahead. But in the CPDM party, it's difficult for people to complain about Paul Biya, who has kept ministers, high-ranking government officials, senior state functionaries as members of his party. So they just stayed them quiet, and young people like Tele Onana are now rising with the support from others from behind.
How are the ordinary Cameroonians reacting to these legal battles? You mentioned that they are issuing a call on the conscience of the decision makers and leaders, but are the people of Cameroon hopeful or more frustrated?
People are frustrated in Cameroon. Now, you were talking here about a president who has been in power for 43 years. Listen, Asanda, 43 years as president and about 10 years as prime minister. So he has been over 50 years serving Cameroon in very high positions. It's a very, very long time, so Cameroonians are saying. And they're not seeing anything changing. Listen, Mr. Biya is older than the United Nations, older than the Second World War, older than everything you think of. So people are even doubting if his reasoning is good enough. He's not seen in public, So people begin wondering if they're not his collaborators who say he is a candidate. Tele Onana said it in court yesterday that he wanted to see the nomination papers of President Paul Biya to be sure that those papers have the signature of President Paul Biya. The court did not respond. So you understand how frustrated people are, how people think that this regime that has been in power for a long time should give way, either within that Mr. Paul Biya could give way to another young person within his party, or allow the elections to be free, fair, and transparent. Camerooners complain they have been very poor. They live below the poverty level, that is less than $2-3 a day. They have bad roads, no hospitals. They see some few who are very rich, and then the vast majority are poor. Young people leave schools, they leave colleges, they don't have jobs. They struggle to go to Europe at all costs. So you could imagine the frustrations that is among Cameroonian people who think that this election should come quickly so that there are changes. But unfortunately, also, it doesn't seem there will be any change in Cameroon yet, because we have noticed in the past elections they're just like, something else. I mean, Paul Biya is just organized to give an impression. That's what the Cameroonians say, that he is democratic when he wants to rule with an iron fist and confiscate power until he dies in power.
Looking ahead, and just briefly, Moki, what are the key moments to watch now as the country moves to October 12th, Election Day?
I'm very certain that there are going to be protests because people are disgruntled. They may be, as from today at 3 o'clock, when the verdict concerning Kamto will be made public at the Constitutional Council. I'm telling you, if Kamto is refused, if his nomination papers are rejected by the Constitutional Council, then what we saw yesterday will just be the tip of the iceberg, because people were angry. Thousands were moving to the Constitutional Council. Scores were arrested. And that was only in Yaoundé. In Douala and the other major cities, people have been disgruntled. And the main thing will be happening now will be on the day of elections itself. I am not a prophet of doom, but from all indications and from what political analysts are saying, Paul Biya will win the elections, even if he doesn't go to campaign, even if people don't see him, because they have been prepared for him to win.
Moki, let's thank you again for your time, and we'll be getting in touch to get more on the developments in Cameroon with the elections.
Thanks, Asanda.
Thank you. Moki Kindzeka is our Yaoundé correspondent, Channel Africa's Cameroonian correspondent there.
Start your day right.